Don't. Don't open that box. What have you done? You shouldn't have opened it. You shouldn't have opened it. Opened it. Opened it.
Hello, listening people.
Hello.
You're listening to Spit and Polish presents The Mystery Box. This is the second episode of The Mystery Box. Yeah, that's a statement I just want to say. It's the second episode, and I'm Ryan Slawinski, a host of Spit and Polish, and my other friend who just said hello as well is...
Don't call me friend, call me co-host.
Co-host...
Is Bartek.
Bartek whom?
Bartek from Australia.
Oh, is that why we're called Spit and Polish? Because we're always spitting, and we both happen to be Australians who have Polish ancestry.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Well, the Australian thing doesn't really matter, but...
It doesn't really come into it unless we called ourselves Spit Oz and Polish.
Spitters. Spit Oz.
Spit Oz. No, Spit Oz and Polish.
Yeah.
Or if we change the S in Polish to Z, so it's like Polish.
In
Polish.
yeah. Okay.
Polish. I don't speak Australian or Polish, evidently.
Can we change the H to a Z? Because in Polish, SZ is an S.
I can't, Bartek. I can't do that. And I can't tell you people what this episode's about because I'm just lazy right now. No, Mystery Box, for those who are not in the know, and, you know, that's a few people. I won't hold it against you. Bartek will, but I won't hold it against you. On this show, we talk about a film that we have... What?
We are talk.
We are talk!
Yeah.
I don't know why that's a laugh. We are going to talk. The Mystery Box. What is it? Well, we get a random film or product that someone has made, a studio or some random person that we have no real connection to, something that is completely unknown to us, or hey, maybe we've heard the name of it in the wind. These films we usually find in an op shop, a $2 store, or maybe on the streets. Bartek, we don't always do it alone, because we've only done this 2 times now, and we have a guest this time as we did the first time round. And I would ask you what the film we are watching, and you would usually, in the other show, Unappreciated Masterpieces, give us the Polish title of this, but since you don't know what the film is, and we only just watched it together, I'm not going to expect that of you. But I'm expecting you to introduce our amazing guest that also had to watch the film with us.
Yeah, a couple of
having
years ago.
not seen it before and having to swallow it into their eyeballs. Who's the person that's joining us for this episode?
The special guest that we have on this episode is one of our most recurring guests on the other show, Unappreciated Masterpieces.
They could technically be a great recurring guest on this show if
well,
they've appeared in 50% of the episodes.
Well, Ryan, here's a little fun fact. We've only done 2 episodes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great when someone's listening to this and they've listened to our 10th episode and they've skipped this one and they've come back and it's like, hey, it's fucking idiots. They don't know what they're on about. They're like 14 episodes in.
Let's make a statement. The 6th episode is going to be awful, but it's our best one. The guest is Rhys McKenzie.
Hello, listening people. I'm glad to be on the second episode of The Mystery Box, and I'm looking forward to what we have to say.
Well, I'm looking forward to it as well, because lucky us, the Mystery Box offered us an amazing film called Keeping Up With The Steins, with everyone's favourite lead actor, Jeremy Piven, who is technically not the lead, because it's that kid from the Spy Kids movie. You know, not the girl, but you remember the boy? The one with the warts on his fingers because he got stressed out a lot? Well, he's in this new movie called Keeping Up With The Steins that's actually very old now. But he's in this new movie called Keeping Up With The Steins where he's very different to his Spy Kids counterpart role, in which in Spy Kids he played a young boy with interesting parents who is very nervous. In this film, he plays a nearly young man who has very interesting parents who's very nervous.
You found the parents very interesting, Ryan?
Didn't you? Don't you come in here and say otherwise. If this film turned out to be that Jeremy Piven was actually a secret super spy for the Jewish Intelligence Agency or the JIA.
Hold on, Ryan.
The JIA.
Take a step back.
Gia.
Hold on. Take a step back.
Levy.
Take a step back, guys. Why'd you say Jewish? Does Jewish have anything to do with this?
Well, the Steins are involved.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's break this down a bit easier. I'm gonna just say this film's called Keeping Up With The Steins. Mm-hmm. It's a film we watched. I have no connection with it, other than I'm the one who found this in an op shop, and I was like, I must have this. Bartek, any connections for you?
It's pretty much the exact same as what I was saying in our first episode, in that you've had this DVD for such a long time, over a year, and you'd bring it up every now and then, and be excited because we're eventually going to see it.
Rhys,
Yes.
we've already talked about the Keeping Up With The Steins, like Bartek mentioned in the
Yes.
past.
Yeah.
You actually do have a slight connection with this in terms of you already knew what it... You already had heard about this film.
Yes, I
Unlike
did.
Bartek and myself, who had no idea of the name or anything about it, you had actually heard the title at least.
I heard the title. I knew it was on a channel called Movie One back in the day of Foxtel.
Mm-hmm.
I remember.
And I was like, maybe I should watch this sometime soon, but I didn't. And it all led to this. So it's sort of all connecting to this episode of the Mystery Box. And could I possibly give a little hint of my review of this film right now? A little hint.
Give us a circumcision.
What?
Nothing, go on.
Okay.
You meant foreskin, Ryan.
He's going to give us a little cut
Okay.
of his review.
That makes more sense, yeah.
Disappointment.
Oh! That's a very,
Because this
that's
movie...
a very Jewish thing to
This
feel.
movie is called Keeping Up With The Steins.
And that's what the film's about.
Yeah,
It's about
It's
that.
not about that whatsoever.
I am going to give our guest the honor, the pleasure.
The
Of-
duty.
Yeah, the burden.
No, not burden, the duty. The
duty-
honourable duty.
The honourable duty I can do
Of
this.
Like a samurai.
having to do a quick overview and synopsis of the film Keeping Up With The Steins for our audience who aren't familiar with it.
Remember-
Tell them kind of what it happens and what it's about.
Basically, there's this boy being played by Daryl Sabara.
It's okay.
Sabara.
You can
Yeah, I
say
can-
Daryl Hannah.
Daryl Hannah, who is also in this film. And he plays this young boy who has to go through his bar mitzvah. His parents want to do this absolutely big romp of a bar mitzvah, but he just wants to be left alone. So in order to do that, he actually invites his grandfather, who has not been around for at least a couple of decades, so that chaos ensues and the bar mitzvah does not go down well. Mm-hmm. However, this does not happen. And he actually learns to figure out what bar mitzvah actually means. What it means to become a man. What it means to become a man and a Jew at the same time.
Wow, that was really emotional. But I got a question for you.
Yes.
Who are the Steins? Are they
Okay.
the kid's
This-
family?
No.
So the main kid is a Stein, yeah? I imagine that's who
No.
he is. No?
What?
They're the Feeblers.
The what?
The Feeblers.
You're fucking wrong.
What?
Oh my god.
We have the DVD in front of us.
Go on, read it. No, that he called them the Feeblers. Go on. What are they called, Rhys? Who are they called? Does
not-
it tell you on the
No,
back
it
of the DVD?
doesn't.
How would I tell you? You're wrong. They're the Feedlers. You fucking...
Feeblers.
You're saying... You said, and I think it's still saying it with a B? It's a
Yeah,
D?
Feeblers.
Feedlers.
Feeblers.
No. You're saying Feeblers.
Oh, it's not even on the chapter selections.
Because no one cares. They are... Okay, so, good try. Gold star for you. Gold star. Bartek,
Yeah.
you know the Feeblers, who are not in this film. But the
Is that
main...
Feeblers with a B beta or a D delta?
A B beta, they're not in the film.
Right.
But the Feedlers... God, it's getting hard to even say it now that I've noticed that Rhys got it straight out of the gate wrong.
Our main character is not from the Stein family. He is from the Fifi family. But Ryan, or Rhys,
Okay.
he might still have the honor bound duty. Who are the Steins, if not the main character's family?
I'll give it to Rhys. Now, Rhys, he said Steins, not Steens. Go on.
The Steins are a sort of a family who
Sort
are
of.
okay. They are a family who are sort of like act as like the competition, but then they're not really the main antagonists of the film. Does that make sense?
Who is?
It does, but I want
The
to
main antagonist. There is no main antagonist. I think
Clearly, you didn't know who Jeremy Piven was.
he's not an antagonist. He's
the
sort
kid.
of like he's a conflicted character.
Yeah, but he's an antagonist.
Antagonist. It is a character that stands in the way of the protagonist. We know for a fact that our protagonist
Is
is
the boy.
the young boy.
Yes,
Yeah.
From the Fifi family.
from the Fifi family.
So, what is his goal, Rhys?
His goal is to get out of his bar mitzvah.
And who is standing in the way of him getting out of his bar mitzvah?
Literally everyone.
So the antagonist is the father. I shall correct myself there.
Okay.
Yes.
Why is he the antagonist?
Because Bartek just proved that he was standing.
No, but what's he doing to be the antagonist?
Okay, so he's standing in the way of trying to not. Okay, so the boy basically does not want to go through with his bar mitzvah, but his dad's like, no, we've got to outcompete the Steins. We've got to make this as big as possible. We've got to look good, basically.
Outcompete them because the son of the Steins at the beginning had a bar mitzvah and it was incredibly extravagant.
Yeah,
It was the Titanic.
It was the Titanic.
Of bar mitzvahs.
That was the theme.
which was ridiculous, to be honest.
They spent, in the film, they even stated, they spent $500,000 on his bar mitzvah.
Oh, they did, yeah.
Wait a minute. Oh, very clever. He zigs when everyone else zags. He's saying, I'm so rich, I don't have to try to impress anyone.
Well, then why'd we spend $500,000?
Because that don't talked us into it.
Why?
Let me just say it. Not a fan of Keeping Up with the Steins. It's Noah Woebot's Christmas. But it's very similar. Not a fan because my main issue was, well, I had lots of issues. This is a film, like Rhys said, that's about like it's a coming of age story, realizing who you are,
I didn't
finding
say
your.
Rhys
I
was-
know you didn't say that verbatim, but what you said in the synopsis is a coming of age identity story. Sorry, Rhys, I'm the feebler in the room now. No.
No, change it back, Ryan. Change it back. I want to be the feebler.
Okay, you're the feebler.
You're
always...
the feedler and Bartek's Fifi.
Well, I don't like this film for many reasons. There's so many reasons that we'll get into. But one of the main reasons is, Rhys brought it up, which is this is a coming-of-age story, essentially. It's about a young boy becoming a man and finding his place in the world and within his family dynamics, which is always essential. But the problem I felt with it was... it's a very first world problems kind of film in which everyone that you see in the film is so rich and powerful. I don't feel any stakes with anyone involved, and it just felt like poor white privilege, or in this case, poor Jew privilege.
That is a main point to also say.
Everyone.
Pretty much everyone in this film is Jewish and talking about bar mitzvahs and what they mean. Everyone has this kind of value to them. Not literally everyone. Like, there are some characters who are just friends of them who, you know...
They have a black friend.
They have a black friend.
They have
I'm
this
token
coming
snippet.
out
black
and saying
friend.
it. There's a black friend.
There's a token black friend because they need diversity. At
Doesn't
least.
have much hair. He says shalom.
Well, gotta go. Yeah, gotta go. Shalom.
Shalom.
And he drinks.
Oh yeah, they drink a lot of alcohol in one scene.
And there's a scene where they do the fist stuff.
Oh
Him and
yeah,
Dad, that Ryan really
Jeremy
likes.
Piven shakes hands with the black kid, and they do the full slapping skins, fist bumping, flicking, clicking.
But where I was,
It was so urban.
but where I was going with that was, look, guys, I'm just gonna come out and say it. Ryan, Rhys, and I, we're not Jewish.
What?
No,
We're not.
I'm not
Are you
Jewish.
Ryan?
Are you Jewish?
No, I'm not. No. But I just wanted to say what anyway, just to be dramatic.
What?
You didn't
What?
Know, you didn't know you weren't Jewish? Is that what you're trying to say?
Who are you, young man?
Rhys, are you Jewish?
Not that I know of.
That's my
Wait,
point.
you don't know though.
What I mean by the fact that we are not Jewish
Yes.
is that it comes across... It was a learning experience for us in a way.
Because we're sensitized to the Western ideals that Christianity is what you understand of family dynamics, of Christian values. This is a Jewish value film, and it's very alien to us, I think.
Yeah, for us, there was a lot of giggling at Yiddish words being said, and...
It's because they just say them.
Let's get Jewish. You ready to get Jewish?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
You get hungry for a little nosh later. He's focusing on his spilkes with Erwin.
Who you calling an alta cocky, you little pisher? Now,
What is this queer eye for the straight goy?
Spinning? I'm spinning. Well, yes, sometimes they're spinning and they're spitting. Here they're spit.
Bagels and lox?
The verschlugene ones, whatever verkackte thing.
Oh, that's beautiful. Say, Mashugana!
Cause that stunt talked us into it.
Hi.
I promise to bust my tuchus to be as much of a mensch as my son Benjamin.
Say, spilkes. Spilkes.
And because Gary Marshall's saying them at the same time, like, there's a point where they have a video being shot for the bar mitzvah, and it's like a reality TV show, and Gary Marshall just proclaims, "What is this? Queer eye for the straight goy?"
I forgot about that. That was
favourite
probably
line,
my
yeah.
favorite line. Yeah.
But also there was a very matter-of-fact, no big deal at all kind of attitude with certain things, like the fact that Catherine Zeta-Jones was apparently going to be at the bar mitzvah. Like, no big deal, she's going to be there.
Yeah, because we can afford her.
Yeah, we can afford it. And plus the dad's job is, like, he's a talent agent for actors. in
Which
Hollywood or
was,
something.
as described by the film, being a pimp for actors.
That's right.
My dad always wanted to be a movie producer, but he became an agent, which is like being a pimp for TV and movie stars. My mom's like normal.
I wanted Larry Miller to be in the film more.
We all wanted Larry Miller to be in the film
Because
more.
it would just be like, there'd be a random scene, like Jeremy Piven's going for a run, and then all of a sudden, Larry Miller in an even better tracksuit.
No, you guys are acting like he's on the front cover of the DVD.
He is!
Maybe we should talk about the DVD cover.
See, this is what I mean by misguiding. It makes it seem as if they're competing with the Steins, but that's not what it's about, essentially. I mean, to an extent, there is that part of the story, but the main story is that there's a problem in the family dynamic that has to be fixed, basically.
It's a generational problem.
Yeah.
The sins, and it says this in their bar mitzvah. When you become a man, your sins, before you become a man, your sins are on the sins of your parents. And then when you become a man, your sins are your own. The problem that the family has, the family that the Fiedlers have, is that they haven't learned the true meaning of bar mitzvah. In terms of the sins of the individuals haven't been applied because they're still the sins of the parents. In terms of the sins to go back to Gary Marshall in their family, which is Gary Marshall's character left Jeremy, the grandfather, played by Gary Marshall, left the family, left Jeremy Piven's character when he was a child to be a free spirit type, to shirk the responsibilities of being a father and a husband and just a general member of society.
Yeah, he pretty much has a scene where he talks about how 9 to 5 working, going there, going back is not for him.
All right. I just couldn't be one of those schmucks who sold linoleum flooring, who took the train to work every morning and took the train home every night. It killed me to be one of those schmucks, Rose.
Those schmucks were fathers, Erwin. Those schmucks were husbands. You think it was all easy for them? They were making sacrifices. And you just left us without a word.
I really thought you'd be better off without me.
This film really revolves around the fact of generational issues. So Gary Marshall's decision has rippled to Jeremy Piven, and Jeremy Piven's relationship with his son has been affected by the overall choices of the parents. So that's what I mean in terms of That's a very nice thematic thing that they don't beat you over the head with in terms of the idea that this family's lost their way with their Jewish faith and what bar mitzvah actually means in terms of individuality. Because Jeremy Piven's character is still obsessed, still determined with his hatred and loathsome nature towards his father, who for 95% of the film does nothing to redeem himself for Jeremy Piven's character. So it's this generational blindness, and it's our main character played by the kid from Spy Kids, who breaks the chain, who's the one who stands up and says to his mum, not to the dad, that no, I don't want a fancy bar mitzvah. I want a normal bar mitzvah. I just want to be who I am, and that's really what this film is kind of about. It's just generational, dysfunctional nature between the generations that's finally broken with the grandson, who's our main character.
No, that's what a bar mitzvah is all about. Family sharing, generations connecting, traditions passed down.
The DVD cover. The DVD cover is what drew me in. Like all great films, you have to draw your audiences in with the promotional material, the art that is advertisement. And a cover, a poster, is very important to drawing you in. Now, this drew me in the negative sense. Of course, I got this DVD because I knew it looked like trash. And how does it look like trash? It has in big, goofy font, Keeping Up With The Steins, where each word is a different size to the other one, except for up and with are the same size and they're the littlest. Keeping is in red, for some reason, with a lowercase k.
It's all about the colour.
It's all about the colour. It has a nice pop of red, and then the background image
and
is...
the P's going into the S of Steins.
Of course it is. It has all the cast names on top, and then the background is one half, the left half is white, and the right half is blue, and there's just a line. It doesn't blur, it's just a line. And you follow that line down from the title, and who do you see in the center of it? Gary Marshall. And who else do you see, guys?
Doris Roberts.
Doris Roberts, Ray Romano's mum in Everybody Loves Raymond, and also Dickie Roberts' mum in Dickie Roberts. You're thinking, okay, they're the center point there, and it's called the Steins, so these must be like the matriarchy and the patriarchy of the Stein family, right? That's what you're thinking. Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Okay, so these are the heads of the Steins, right? And they're really small in the image, like they're far away. But unfortunately, the Photoshop doesn't give you that illusion. It just makes it look like they're really small.
Yeah, you see their full bodies on like the other characters.
So I'll go on the right hand side. You have Larry Miller, who we all should know. Larry Miller. He was on Seinfeld. He's in the Nutty Professor movies.
10 Things I Hate About You.
10 Things I Hate About You. I'm pretty sure is it 10 Things I Hate About You? Yeah. Or Clueless.
I think it's
10 Things I Hate About You, probably. I can't remember. And he's in like a lot of things. He's very famous. He was also in a previous mystery box, which was The Legend of Frosted Snowman, in which he played Principal Mayor, or Mayor Principal Hanky Panky.
Hanky Panky.
We have him, and he's being really, like, dickish on the cover, isn't he, Bartek? Like, describe Larry Miller for us.
Well, not dickish, but kind of douchey, cocky, smug.
I like how dickish was too much, but cocky, smug, and douche.
Dickish implies you're being rude.
I guess, but douche doesn't.
No, because douchey's kind of like an attitude thing, whereas...
Yeah, but dickish is an attitude thing.
Yeah, but it kind of implies that you're wronging
Bartek, you know what? I don't want to have a fight with you. This film taught us the unity of bar mitzvahs. Dig deep into Larry Miller on this cover.
Okay, well, he's on the rightmost part of the frame.
Yeah.
You can almost see the entire roundness of his head. There's just a tiny bit off the frame. He is giving us a wink with his left eye, sort of, or it's actually more of a squint.
Or maybe he's really angry.
Because
just like, those.
He looks like he's in the middle of like a Tourette's blink.
No, he's giving a wink, right? And he's doing up his tie, so that implies he has it in the bag.
Yeah, and he does. That's exactly, he has it in the bag.
But the point is, that's not the film.
And to his right, our left, So sort of like in the 3/4 part of the frame going left to right is his son in the film.
Well, that's very good because with the visual representation, you're assuming, oh, well, that's going to be his son, of course, because he's looking a bit dickish too.
Yeah, his son is giving this look to the camera like, this guy, right? And pointing with his thumb, but not looking in the direction that he's pointing.
Yeah.
And we're not really entirely sure what he's pointing at, but if you were to take the cover literally, he's pointing at the tiny Gary Miller.
Gary Marshall, not Gary Miller.
I called him Miller earlier. Shit.
Fuck
Marshall.
you.
Oh, no, I called... Yeah.
You called Larry Miller. Larry Miller.
Larry Marshall.
Larry Marshall. Gary Marshall. No, so you got the little son there, who's also wearing a similar outfit. Like, he's wearing, like, proper formal clothes, like a tie.
He's not wearing a blazer, but pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, like, and he's wearing a belt. And he's pointing at little Gary Marshall, who's pointing a thumb back.
You call him Gary Marshall now.
His name is
Gary
Marshall.
Miller was the one that I made a mistake of. Feebler, Ryan, Feebler.
No, oh, wait, no, I don't know the answer to that question.
What question?
Oh, which one it is? Is it Feebler, or... Okay, it's not Fifi. We know that.
How do you know?
Wait, you had to stop right then.
Sorry.
And be like, wait, it's definitely not Fifi. Like, he's not sure, but he has to say it because he doesn't want to come across.
He's
as
trying to
saying,
be
like,
nice.
You're nice, Rhys. I love it.
I'm not nice. I'm
So,
just dumb.
In the cover, you have them on the right hand side of the poster, and they're on the blue side. And I forgot to mention this, but like, they have like confetti just kind of falling in the frame of the poster.
And the ones on the right-hand side are kind of sparkly.
Yeah, because they're rich and sparkly. So then you have... Oh, by the way, Doris Roberts' gesture is she's throwing her hands up in the air like, oh, I've had enough of this.
The hands are doing the thing from that meme that was made out of the
Neil deGrasse
Tyson thing. Like, oh, no.
Yeah, she's doing that, oh, I'm done with this. And then you have, like, on the left-hand side, you have our actual characters. On the left-hand side, we have one of the Spy Kids and Jeremy Piven. And the little Spy Kid, well, he's wearing, normal clothes, like a little shirt and a belt, and he's got his hands in his pockets, and he's just kind of like rolling his eyes, and his shoulders are up high, and Jeremy Piven is kind of like leaning in with his arms crossed, looking at Larry Miller being a bit of a knob, and giving him this look like, I am so over you. And you're thinking, oh, okay, I'll say this. I looked at the cover, and I assumed what the story was, right? And I read the back, and it was basically saying, this family gets together, and they have a Jewish coming-of-age story, right? I look at the cover, and I'm like, oh, okay, so you have the grandparents there who are the traditional sticklers for bar mitzvahs and all of this kind of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have Larry Miller is going to be, like, the flashy one, which he was in the movie, who wants to do, like, a decadent, over-the-top, garish kind of bar mitzvah for his son, and then his brother Jeremy Piven.
It's like an uncle cousin.
Yeah, exactly. And then he's and the kid, Larry Miller's kid's going to be like the antagonistic kind of character for our main character. Like he's going to be his rival, right? And then that's what I thought. It's going to be a rivalry between the Steins within themselves, and then Jeremy Piven's going to be like, I'm going to outdo him, and then you just have Doris Roberts being like, "Hey, vey, don't they know the true meaning?" And we were wrong. I was wrong, at least. I don't know. What did you have in interpretation of what...
Well, I didn't really get to look at the cover as much as you did, Ryan, but I pretty much had this same idea. Like, the film's called Keeping Up With The Steins, and the word Steins crosses between the left half of the frame and the right half.
Yeah.
I say frame, the cover, the white side and the blue side. So I would assume that, I am looking at the greater Steins family minus mothers, obviously.
Yeah, because there's no mums.
Yeah, no mums. Even though the mums on the non-Stein family, as we learn, does play a part in the film.
They do.
Yeah, so I assumed that the film would focus on all of the characters on this cover, and they are the Steins.
Yeah, but you were wrong. Bartek, you didn't mention the biggest part, which was you forgot that it was called Keeping Up With The Steins.
Yeah, I kept calling it Meet the Steins.
Meet the Steins. And it was great because in the movie, the Steins are barely there, and there was a point where you're like, well, we're not really meeting them very much, and it's like, because we're keeping up with them, Bartek.
I said something like, yeah, these guys aren't the Steins, right? Because the guy didn't get brought up for a while.
yeah, he was like, we're the Fiddlers or whatever. The Fiddlers.
Yeah. This is another thing that
Fiddlers. If
They make a reference to Fiddler on the roof later.
Yeah, in the final scene.
What's Fiedler trying to pull here?
I don't get it. Is this supposed to be like Fiddler on the Roof?
No, that's a good one. Fiedler on the... Wait a minute. Oh, very clever.
Speaking of not the final scene, the first scene, where we're getting introduced to the actual Stein family's son's bar mitzvah on the cruise ship. We have this panning shot of the cruise ship that lasts like 20 to 40 seconds, going very slowly.
And the camera's jittering along.
Yeah, and our main character is talking over it. Not
narrating. He's not talking, like, he's not got like a big head like in Spy Kids where it's projected in the sky and it's talking over the ship.
Yeah, Benji. Benji is just talking about
That's
like
his name,
yeah. I remembered because it looked like Genji or Kenji, but it wasn't. Our character is talking about it and how this is going to be a bar mitzvah. And at this, and like towards the end of this shot, you've got this idea of, oh yeah, we're looking at a cruise ship still. And he ends his monologue during that shot with, and believe it or not, this bar mitzvah was on a cruise ship.
In some neighborhoods, the party becomes a lot more important than anything else. I live in one of those neighborhoods. My problem started at Zachary Stein's bar mitzvah party, which, believe it or not, was on a cruise ship.
I was expecting, like, you know, a competition movie at least. You know, there'd be more big, like, set pieces, like, oh, there's a sporting event, or there's like, oh, and the bar mitzvah is like the big set piece where everything goes wrong or goes right for the Fiedlers.
I suppose if you were to take what you just said there about it being a competition, you could kind of think of it as that opening scene, this is the Steins' appeal to the judges. And then the rest of the film is the Fiedlers wanting to appeal to the judges.
And it could have been like the main character of Benji, him being like, I don't want to go all out on this bar mitzvah. And the dad's like, no, we got to keep up with the Steins, basically. We got to keep it big, basically. And it could be just the foil of the family. But it's completely different.
Yeah.
It's completely different. It's misleading as all hell.
You know what I thought this film was going to be? I thought it was going to be Cheaper by the Dozen 2, where Steve Martin has to compete against Eugene Levy. That's exactly how I thought this film was going to be, but they're going to use bar mitzvah. And look, I'm not saying that it's negative off the bat to have the Steins as minor, if not very little, in terms of characters in the story, and use them at the start to set up this competitive nature and let it roll on from there, because there have been movies where, again, we've had movies in the past that have been great where the competition aspect isn't even really there. Like, for instance, for some reason, and I know this sounds absurd, but I thought of a Goofy movie, the movie about Goofy.
Yep.
And in that film, it has 5 minutes of his next door neighbor, and they're pretty much the Steins, where they got this, where they're like big and lavish and better, and it gets this insecurity into Goofy and whatever. And that film does it very well, and the film doesn't even revolve around the competition between those two characters. See, I'm not saying it's impossible for you to not use the Steins as very minor little characters and not have the movie be a competition movie. But the film is a competition movie, and you don't have the competition. That's the problem I have.
You say the film is a competition film. I think it's just that it looks like it's meant to be.
Yeah, I think we are supposed to be bamboozled by it.
And this is crossing over to something we did on Unappreciated Masterpieces. But while we were watching the film an hour or so ago, I brought up a comparison to the film Snow Day.
Yeah.
Where in that film, it was focusing on a family and cut between each member, and it would always be like their own plot is going on. And I was, the comparison that I was making to this is, yes, Benji is the main character, but it would also sometimes focus on the dad. The dad is the one who's obsessed and kind of thinks that he's in a competition film.
It took me a while, other than the kid's narration, it took me like 10 minutes into the film to realize Jeremy Piven's not going to be an actual main character, you know what I mean? Like, in terms of what you were saying. Because I actually thought that too. Like, when you said that, I'm like, yeah, I think this film's going to focus on certain members of the family. I thought it would be like the three male figures, the son, the dad, and the grandfather.
The 3 generations, yeah.
But it didn't really. It focused more on Gary Marshall and the son, but not Jeremy Piven so much, which is disappointing because Jeremy Piven's character has very interesting arc and interesting characterization because Jeremy Piven's a great actor who, I must say, Jeremy Piven is an amazing actor who, I must admit, I've never seen anything he's been in. I've never watched Entourage. I've only seen clips of it, and I know his character's an asshole in that, and I believe him as an asshole, and in this film he's an asshole. But my problem is they frame him like he's out of control. But I actually agreed with him for the whole entire movie about his relationship with Gary Marshall is basically he resents him and doesn't want to forgive him because Gary Marshall did an awful thing, which was leave the family and not really do anything to redeem himself for that. But everyone in the family including Doris Roberts, our main character, everyone's just saying, hey, Jeremy Piven, get over it. It was a long time ago. You're a grown man. You've done better than he did, so get over it. And I'm like, well, no, that doesn't make up for... You can't just get over something like being abandoned by your father. You know, you can't just get over that. And they have a great scene at the end where Jeremy Piven says that, and the film still frames it in a way where it's like, you should be on Gary Marshall's side. And I'm sorry, Gary Marshall, you did good in the film. He's actually the shining star.
With the whole thing of getting over the fact that his father left, that's most of the characters in the film, their point is that that's not what his presence is about. Yeah. His presence is about meeting his, grandson and being there for him.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It just felt like a lot of people were just saying, hey, Gary Marshall's tried. Like the wife, Jeremy Piven's wife says, like, I think he's putting in an effort. And I'm like, yeah, for the grandson, but that doesn't mean nothing for Jeremy Piven. Like, it should if it was a healthy dynamic between them both, but there is no healthy dynamic there. And the film kind of just tells you, hey, Jeremy Piven got over it because he finally let go. But why did he let go? Like, Gary Marshall didn't really do anything. He gave one little speech at the end that was basically saying, hey, I screwed up, but have you screwed up before? Yeah, okay, now we understand one another. And that was it. Like in the film, Jeremy Piven's screwing up by not understanding what his son wants. While Gary Marshall screwed up by not only not understanding what his son wants, but left and never returned and never really asks for forgiveness or never really seeks redemption for that in the film itself. So I think those are very different things entirely. Like Jeremy Piven, he actually has a relationship with his son. I don't know. I just found it very contrived in the film that it's like Gary Marshall. He was a great actor. A great presence, lots of energy, and if they just wrote it better, wrote it neater, wrote it in a way where I could understand where they're both coming from, but. The only reason you understand where Gary Marshall's coming from is because they give him more time, they frame him in a more positive light, and he's just such an upbeat presence as a performer. But that's it.
Yeah, that is a true fact, because every time Jeremy Piven and Gary Marshall are in a scene together, it's always a thing of like, oh, look, Jeremy Piven's mad again.
Yeah, my main problem was everyone kept stopping Jeremy Piven. Like, if they actually just let him shout it out and actually just go one-on-one with Gary Marshall. If people would just stop interrupting Jeremy Piven having a go at his dad, we wouldn't be as angry in the film. Like, if they just let him sit down one-on-one and beef it out, that would have worked. But of course, it's a film where in films people can't just talk to each other like human beings. You have to have that dramatic tension throughout the whole thing so that in the third act you can have the resolution that makes you feel all warm and gooey inside.
In a way, it's manipulative. It manipulated me because I was like, oh, leave him alone, Ryan, he's trying. And he's like, no, like you mentioned your point during the film when they had that argument in the kitchen, basically. Yeah. And then, because you made your point so clear, I kind of agree with you.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty much, it's
I've
not...
manipulated Rhys.
You've manipulated me?
Well, because I framed. Yeah, it's all about framing. Like, there's some great family dramas out there that exist that can frame both sides. Like, I would have been more interested if I could understand both sides a bit more. But why do I care about Gary Marshall other than he's a nice guy? He did a terrible, terrible thing that he never made any effort to fix. Other than, hey, Jeremy Piven, you've screwed up too.
Well, hang on.
But less so.
Hang on a second.
Completely different.
Wasn't there a line in the film where Gary Marshall said that Jeremy Piven doesn't return his calls?
Yes.
When he tries to...
Yeah. He doesn't return his calls. Yeah. That's the closest you get to Gary Marshall tries. But he doesn't try hard enough to drive out to LA and actually face his son one-on-one. Like, I don't think it's completely unreasonable for Jeremy Piven not to return or answer his calls, considering pretty much the lifetime of, I wouldn't say necessarily abuse, but lifetime of misfortune Gary Marshall has bestowed onto him by leaving. Just whoosh, off he goes and leaves. And it's that thing too where, in reality, I don't know, different people, different interpretations. But like, for me, if my dad left me when I was a small child and he tried to make it up to me by just trying to phone me, it wouldn't do. I want to see the effort of him coming back. That's just me. Like, and I think that's what Jeremy Piven's kind of like in this film. Because that's what he's calling him out on most of the time, that he never came back. And when he did come back, he just left. Like, he only came back because he was asked to come back. Like, they make a reference to that he saw the kid when he was born, and that was like for 5 seconds, and then he left again to live in a reservation.
Ryan, where was he, Ryan? Who was he with?
Gary Marshall's character is a Jew who teaches English and Yiddish to Native Americans in a reservation with Daryl Hannah, who's also a white woman, well, no, she's not also a white woman. She is just a white woman. Gary Marshall's not a white woman. Who is a white woman who travels around different countries and cultures and tribes and adopts them for a period of time and bestows upon them her mysticism and absorbs their mysticism. She's also technically a student of Gary Marshall because she's also learning Yiddish. That's what Gary Marshall's been doing for 30 years. Mm-hmm. That's what he's been up to. Because he couldn't do that 9-to-5 lifestyle, but he could be a teacher. Like,
well,
he makes a complaint that he couldn't do the 9-to-5 getting on the train, selling stuff. Why didn't he just become a teacher? He seems like he's destined to be one. In the whole film, he's a mentor. He is the Jewish equivalent of the Karate Kid.
It's like the Jewish equivalent of wax on, wax off.
Yeah, fishing. It's good.
Fishing did make me think. I thought about what Irwin said. I thought about what the rabbi said. And then I talked to both of them. And slowly, for the first time, this bar mitzvah thing began to make some sense.
I know, you have to have dramatic tensions and family dramas and all that, but the problem is, make the family drama weighted evenly, because it was too heavy on Gary Marshall's side. Like, there was no point in which it felt like Gary Marshall was in the wrong.
Well, Ryan, there is a third person who was affected by that decision.
Doris Roberts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was her attitude towards it?
Her attitude was, I've accepted it because I was terrible too. Hey, Jeremy Piven, you should get over it. Because nothing says being fair when a woman who is a grown adult, her husband leaves her and she accepts it.
And still considers him, or
still calls him in an affectionate... No, still chats to him in an affectionate manner.
Well, but in the second scene she appeared in, she said that she still calls him husband.
Oh, yeah. Again, the problem is, her choice is fair, but her choice comes from being mature. Her choice comes from, she was a grown woman who was a mother, who worked, and all of this kind of stuff. So when she comes to the mature decision of being content with Gary Marshall's choice, it's okay. It's understandable. It's fair enough. Jeremy Piven was a child. and he grew up in a world that was created by that one decision. So Jeremy Piven's point of view, his understanding, his way of being has been caused by that choice. So it's understandable for him not to want to forgive because he hasn't been given anything to change the world that was constructed for him. It's that typical thing of your parents are the reason you fucked up.
For the protagonist, I think like the main conflict is like he has to learn how to accept his bar mitzvah, basically, even though all this conflict is happening around him, basically, like a generational conflict, as Ryan put it.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely, the hero's journey leads him to doing his bar mitzvah. Without there is a couple of hiccups, but it all solves out. He learns how to be a man. And the generational thing is sort of solved in the last 5 minutes of the film.
As most films
do. But it was, yes.
His insecurity kind of leads to a bunch of problems. So he's got a whole smorgasbord of problems, from being nervous around the girl he likes, having a phobia of public speaking, being I'm going back to the nervousness thing, but like not being able to talk to his parents about his true feelings.
His best friend is technically a part of the competition as well, even though he doesn't view it like that, since the family have caused this kind of thing. There is kind of like, I like it in the acting. They don't say it, but there is kind of a little bit of an awkwardness between Benji and
the Stein kid
and Zachary on the...
Oh yeah,
Zachary Stein.
Zachary, there's a little bit of a tension there, even though Zachary is actually the guy who gives him the advice that helps him in the end.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the little bit of advice that gets him through his speech basically at the temple, which was
squeeze your nuts.
Squeeze your nuts.
I guess it's time I told you about my trick. It works every time. When I get nervous, I stick my hand in my pocket and squeeze my balls. Oh, come on. No, seriously, it takes your mind off your nerves.
Which he actually did. Which I found like, oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, your face when he took his hand out of his pocket after he finished.
I was expecting him to like breathe deeply and be like, I'm speaking.
Well, Rhys,
like
different methods for different people. Bartek squeezes. Bartek and I use that method for when we do the podcast. We just squeeze our nuts the whole entire time.
So I'm not aware of a third arm, basically, that's squeezing your...
No, this is a fake arm I've got right here. I'm just squeezing real hard right now. Benji does a little bit of fraud by...
Sabotage.
It's fraud. Fraud.
Is it?
Isn't it, Bartek? It's fraud. He fraudulently changed pertinent information by changing the date on the invitation so that the grandfather would come 2 weeks early so that they would all bond more. And at no point is there a reveal of that action. At no point does Benji suffer consequences for lying. In fact, maybe this is just a Jewish thing, but maybe lying is good. In more Christian-related movies, usually the lie reveal happens, and you know they learn a lesson about how that was wrong, but maybe the people who got affected by it also realized maybe it was the right thing to do. In this movie, no one finds out. It never affects anyone.
Well,
really.
What was he motivated by in doing that?
What was he motivated by? Was it just he wanted to get?
He wanted to meet his grandfather, right?
I thought he was motivated not to have a bar mitzvah.
Yeah, he was motivated by not having a bar mitzvah, so he's like, I'll invite Granddad 2 weeks early so that it stresses Dad out so much that I can alter the bar mitzvah plans. That's what he really wanted.
Yeah.
I don't think he says something like that. He's like, I'm going to invite my Granddad I've never met before just to piss off my dad so much so I don't have to have a bar mitzvah.
And that's when it hit me. If I invited the grandfather I never met and got him to come here 2 weeks early, my father would be so freaked out that he would stop driving me insane about my bar mitzvah. So, I sent him an invitation myself.
To
To be completely honest, I was acting all knowing there, but I was really just trying to ask questions in a way that, like, remind me again why this happened.
Yeah, no, it's okay, man. I do that. That's my trick. I just squeeze my nuts.
Oh, I forgot to squeeze. That's my problem.
Yeah, you're not squeezing hard enough. Hey, how about Rhys squeezes your nuts so that you can use your hands?
Well, that's a bit tricky, Ryan, because you're between the two of us.
Rhys has long hands.
Ryan's closer. He can do it. And I'll just continue
But I'm
talking
too busy
nonsense.
squeezing.
Don't worry, I can make the podcast...
Rhys has long hands, not arms.
Yeah, but
hands.
I can keep the podcast going by just talking nonsense, basically.
Isn't that what you're doing right now?
While I pant.
Just like for
Why are you panting?
Just squeezing my nuts.
So you have to pant?
Well, it feels good.
You're right. It does feel good.
For you too?
Well, I'm squeezing them right now, and I'm panting internally.
But you're enjoying it, right?
Well, can you tell? I'm smiling.
Well, that's why I'm asking. It's like consent, but except that you're already doing it.
Well, it's myself, so do I need to give myself
sorry, not
consent?
Confirmation.
Oh, that's a Catholic thing more than a Jewish thing.
Alright, bar mitzvah.
Oh,
That's
no.
what you're doing.
I haven't had my bar mitzvah, but I've had my bat mitzvah, which
But you're
is
not
for
a
girls.
woman,
You're
except
what?
maybe you are.
Your butt mitzvah.
For girls, they're called bat mitzvahs. For boys, they're called bar mitzvahs. You know why we're all over the place? Because this film is a nightmare, and it's all over the place. This film is the kind of film, no joke, it'll come in and you'll meet Doris Roberts and she'll just say, well, I should know, I'm the grandmother. And you're like, thank you. And then it'll have Gary Marshall and he'll be like, what's that? I've got an invitation for my grandson's bar mitzvah. Well, haven't seen my grandson in a while. I better go. And then when he walks up, he's like, hey, it's me, the grandfather. It's like, we get it. We get who you all are. It's like the film hated us with how much it wanted to tell us obvious information. Like, it really felt like the film was like, you're an idiot who doesn't get simple dynamics. Here, let's explain it. The only thing I needed explaining, if they could have explained in a better way that the Steins weren't the main family, it would have been great. Because there were points of like, these crazy Steins. And then I'm like, oh, wait, no, they're the fibblers. You know, they're
You're using Rhys's one now.
No, he said feeblers.
Oh, right.
I said fibblers. Get your fucking last name of the real family incorrectly right, Bartek. You said Fifa instead of Fifi at one point.
Yeah, at least I'm obviously incorrect.
I was too, but it was like a little bit different.
Very similar to when we were watching in our first episode, Legend of Frosty the Snowman. We were getting a feel for the movie.
Oh yeah.
As it was playing along, and we kind of. We got the idea that, yeah, there's going to be a lot of, like, you know, funny Yiddish going on and things like that, and Jewish stereotypes. So when we first met the grandmother, it was during a scene where the main family members, the mother, father, and son, were talking to the organizer for...
Who's amazing, by the way, Cheryl Hines.
Yeah, we haven't established her yet, but we'll talk about her later.
The bar mitzvah planner.
Yeah. She walked into the room and she said something along the lines of, I'm not going to say anything.
I'm the grandmother. I'm not going to say anything.
And we thought that, or at least I'm the one that pointed it out, I don't know if you guys thought it, that the joke was going to be like, oh, she's going to say something even though she said she wasn't going to. But then as the scene played out, while she did say things, she didn't interrupt or anything like that.
Yeah, she just explained, oi.
Yeah. So
that's literally all she said in the scene.
No. Well, there was something that's like, I'm thinking something, but I'm not going to say it.
Yeah.
Shamu is Jewish.
Benji, is it because you don't want to compete with Zachary's bar mitzvah?
Oh, come on. We're going to blow the Stein bar mitzvah away. Yeah.
I'm not saying anything, but I'm thinking something.
Here's a question. Is this film targeted at us?
No. It's targeted at Jews.
Are you sure it's not targeted at us?
It's at specifically us?
Targeted at Jewish families. I think that's the main
It's
point.
targeted at Jewish mums. I'll tell you who it's
Jewish mums specifically?
Yeah, hold on.
Oh,
it's targeted at Jewish mums and housewives who are in the situation in which they have an arrogant husband and a kid who's unsure of themselves so that they can buy it. bring it home and say, hey, let's watch this movie, and put it on and subtly manipulate their family into understanding the true meaning of what her situation is. That is who this is marketed towards. It's marketed towards Jewish mums and housewives. I don't know what you're saying. I think that's exactly who this is marketed to, because it's too adult for kids.
And the cover really screams what you're saying.
No. It's marketed. No, seriously. Look, it's a safe cover that's marketed towards just. Look, it's got nothing sexual on it. It's nothing offensive.
But on that point that it's being safe, don't you think mums would buy this for the whole family?
Yeah, but the whole family. But that's what I'm saying. She's doing it for the whole family. It's not like she's just going to watch this by herself. She's going to buy this so that she can sit down with the family and put it on. But it's specifically for. Do you think a dad's going to go get this?
Yes.
You're a liar. What? I think you're lying.
No,
do you think a dad's gonna walk by this and go, oh, Gary Marshall, oh yeah, Jerry, like, no way is it like a sane dad gonna get this upbeat family movie. A dad would be, especially if they're gonna be like...
A dad will buy this, you know why? Because Gary Marshall will buy this movie because his son directed it. Ooh.
It definitely does seem like it would be for a Jewish family, and if there were to be a member of that family that would pick it up, I would say that it would be one of the either older members of the family or maybe the mum.
So the second act is just basically bonding, and then the third act is he gets over himself and squeezes his nuts, and then the family all gets over themselves, and they all squeeze their nuts in metaphor.
And they jump into a pool?
Well, no. The son jumps into the pool because they won't squeeze their nuts. And then they're like, shit.
Now you're not being fair, Ryan. Now you're just making shit up.
And then metaphorical squeezing of
nuts. And then
nuts.
Jesus turns up, right, Ryan?
No, listen.
And Jesus is like, nachos for all.
Nah, it's a good reference to the film. No, and what I'm saying is, he's basically like, you guys won't stop arguing. Squeeze your nuts in metaphor, which is let go.
Squeeze your nuts to let go.
No, right.
That's what he does in the bar mitzvah. To let go of his anxieties and fears and all that. The big visual representation of the theme is to squeeze your nuts. So, me saying squeeze your nuts in such a flippant way is actually pretty accurate to the film in terms of it's a metaphorical they squeeze their nuts.
In the scene with him jumping into the pool, the problem was that they weren't listening to him.
Yeah, exactly. But the problem was they weren't listening, but they were also still bickering. They were still butting heads. They weren't making ground. They weren't squeezing their nuts.
But the squeezing the nuts thing was meant to get past your insecurities.
Yeah, and theirs was insecurities about each other and about the situation because they're arguing about the dynamic that the father and the grandfather had.
So you're saying that is the case, you're not just trying to be funny by talking about nut squeezing.
That's literally the case. Yeah, they had to squeeze the nuts.
You don't just find squeezing nuts funny. You don't find it funny at all.
Well, no. Listen, just because I find it funny doesn't mean I can't use it to make an example of...
And you don't like saying squeezing nuts.
Well, to be honest, the only reason I'm saying it so much is because you're pulling me up on it and making me have to say it so much. If I just kept going, we would have all been fine.
Ryan, say squeezing nuts.
Squeezing nuts. Rhys, what are you laughing about? You don't have any. That's right. He's nutless.
Didn't we talk about how we all squeeze our nuts?
Well, Rhys wasn't squeezing his nuts, but we were squeezing our nuts, and then I suggested Rhys squeeze yours.
Yeah, because I have very long arms.
Hands! I said hands! Specifically hands! I said, haha, I said hands.
How am I supposed to squeeze his nuts when I have incredibly long hands?
Because you have fingers.
Yeah, but...
You can squeeze with your finger?
I could have really big hands and I still can't reach
long hands, not big, long.
So, like, fingers...
You know how aliens have long fingers and hands?
Yes.
That doesn't mean big. I'm not saying, like, on The Simpsons in that one episode where the guy has the big hand.
Yeah, that's
I'm not saying that. I'm saying long. There's... But I have to explain the difference between big and long. The big question is, what do we talk about next? We've pretty much covered the film. Or have we? Because with this film here... we haven't talked about when it came out. I do know the year that this film came out, but I want to see if you, Bartek, and you, Rhys, can give a rough guess of when this film was, like, when this film came out, when this film was made, how old this film is, what era this film is from having watched it and just even by just looking at it on the DVD. Bartek, what do you think?
Well, my main, I won't say authority, but the main thing that made me consider when it came out was the fact that one of the minor characters in the film is played by Miranda Cosgrove, who is known for playing the little sister in Drake and Josh, and also playing one of the characters in School of Rock. And School of Rock, the class in that film was in primary school.
Around our age.
Yeah, around our age. So, and she still kind of looked like she did in that film, maybe give or take a few years. And that film was around 2003, 2005, I think. So my guess would be somewhere within that early to mid 2000s range.
Give me a year.
Probably generalize it to 2003, 2004.
Oh, yay! Rhys!
Yes.
What year? Yes! Rhys!
That's a Mr. Burns reference.
Hello.
Yes! Rhys!
Yes.
What year do you think Keeping Up with the Steins came out?
I'll try a specific year. I'll try. It may not be correct, but I'll try and take a stab at 2003.
Ooh. So,
Roughly the same as what I guess.
Guess what, guys?
We're both wrong.
You're both wrong.
When did it come out, Ryan?
Come on, guys. Couldn't you tell? 2006! What disappointed you the most about this film? What was it that made this film a failure in your eyes?
Just what they chose as a storyline, as opposed to what they could have chosen. Like, for what they were promoting, they chose the storyline that was, like, the most unexpected thing. Like, the most unpredictable thing they could have chosen. Like, the storyline they put at the forefront kind of should have acted as a backstory. Like a subplot. Oh, they've got problems, but they've got to do this competition thing, basically. Now, we don't have time to worry about this generational issue. We've got to worry about the bar mitzvah, but no, you actually have got to worry about it. That would have made a better storyline, in my opinion.
So learn more from what Snow Day did.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone should learn from Snow Day.
I should have learned from Snow Day. I watched it as a kid.
I've already discussed what I've found disappointing in it. It's primarily the Gary Marshall effect, but also the fact that they aren't the Steins, and the Steins do play such a little role. I'm just going to echo it again because I haven't talked about him enough. Larry Miller. You put Larry Miller in a movie, and I get it. Larry Miller's a character actor, and he's a supporting actor. Rarely do you ever have Larry Miller be one of the central characters. He's usually a minor thing in the grand scheme of things, you know. Like, he's not a huge presence in everything he's in. I'm used to that. Trust me, I'm used to the idea of Larry Miller being a supporting character and a background character. But again, you see him on the cover and you think he's going to be an antagonistic figure. I am really disappointed that they got Larry Miller, to be honest, because Larry Miller's, it's weird to say this, but he's above this. Like, he's a great comedic talent. He's one of the best people. He was the original choice for George Costanza. And that says something in itself, that he's such a talent. He's so well known in the sphere that he's in that you use him in something like this and you don't use him. Legend of Frosty the Snowman, the film that we covered in our last mystery box, they used him. He was used. He was the antagonist. He was in the film.
He was your favorite character.
He was. Hanky Panky.
Hanky Panky.
They used him and he wasn't in the film very much. But the film didn't promote it as the Larry Miller Show, which this one kind of did, in my opinion. You have him on the poster, and he's one of those character actors that you walk in with assumptions of what he's going to be like, and he does deliver on those in this film, but he's barely in it. And when he is in it, he garners the most affection from me. There's a moment in which he's pretending that he runs all the time with Jeremy Piven, and he's out of breath and whatever, and then Jeremy Piven ends the scene with a witty line where he runs off and is like, and I saw you hiding behind that tree, I know you haven't run a day in your life, and it's like, great. And just everything that he wears in the movie, like as the film goes on, Larry Miller's clothes become more and more over the top. By the end, he's pretty much wearing like a safari suit and a big hat and all that. And he has one of my favorite lines, which is like, he's discovered that what happens is the bar mitzvah, they have a normal bar mitzvah in their house in the backyard, and Larry Miller's like, ooh, they're showing us they're so rich that they don't need to show us they're rich. Ooh, another clever move. And everyone's clapping and applauding and all that. And he makes this big comment like, oh, all these people are like so fake and phony. And a woman next to him, a random woman, looks at him shocked, and he just delivers in that Larry Miller way, not you. No, you're very genuine. Like, I'm sorry. And then proceeds to badmouth again. And I think that's it. Like, that's the fake competition thing. Sure, when I actually dig past the perception of what I had of the movie, I'm disappointed with the Gary Marshall, Jeremy Piven dynamic and how it's framed. But and I know there's still ways into my first perception of the movie, but I'm disappointed with Larry Miller in it. Like, I'm disappointed because he's a sore thumb. He just sticks out in terms of what this film should have been.
For me, having my expectations subverted, it didn't disappoint me or offend me. It was just like oh well, that's not what's happening. Let's see what does happen. And then what I got was, it was a coming of age story. It dealt with Jewish issues, and like I said earlier, we're not the targets, and it's not something we understand, but I can at the very least appreciate seeing a representation of what that kind of stuff is like, because bar mitzvahs, that's only something that I've heard about in, I don't know, maybe like TV shows I watched
general
ages
pop
ago.
culture.
General pop culture. I think that's called myopia. So look, with me not being offended by things and appreciating the fact that it was a representation, I didn't hate the film. In fact, there were, jokes in it that I liked. I can't say that I hate it. Can't say that it's awful.
And that's Keeping Up With The Steins, basically. The best thing that I learnt about Keeping Up With The Steins is Gary Marshall is not Jewish.
Oh, yes.
We found out because we watched the behind the scenes, because the film has a behind the scenes, and the film was directed by Gary Marshall's son, Scott Marshall, because of course it is. And I've always thought, like most people, that he's Jewish.
Now, I'm not Jewish, although everyone seems to think my dad is. When I met with the producers, I told them, even though I'm not Jewish myself, I grew up with a lot of Jewish kids, and I married a Jewish woman, so I'm about as close as you can get without actually being Jewish.
Can I tell you a story about my Jewish experience?
Yeah, tell us about your bar mitzvah, Ryan.
Okay, so one time I was waiting for a tram. I was on the street, and I have curly hair. And I was on the street. And a bunch of these rabbis and rabbis in trainings, I guess cantors or whatever, Hasidic Jews, walked by me. They were just walking by, and one of them, a younger guy, probably about like late 20s, walked back. He left his herd, and he looked at me. He just went power walking right back towards me. He looked me dead in the eyes, and I was looking at him because he was looking at me.
Right.
He looked me dead in the eyes and said in that thick Jewish voice, "Excuse me." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Are you a Jew?" And I'm like, "No, I'm afraid." And he sighed disappointment, and then said, "Oh." He sighed disappointment, waved his hand to my hair, like pointing at it, and said, "What is this?" And I didn't know how to reply. And I just said, "Well, it's just I got curly hair, and I'm Polish." And he just goes, "Oh, Polish." He's a young man with an old man's voice. He really did sound like, "Oh, Polish." And then he tutted. He went, and then began to walk away. And as he walked back to his group of people, he turned back, clicked his finger, and pointed at me and went, "Polish, you could be a Jew," and walked on. And that's my Jewish experience, because I live in a city. I live in Melbourne, and I see more priests and nuns walking about than I ever do rabbis ever. And that was my one experience where I've seen rabbis and all that walking about. And that's what I got. I felt persecuted for not being a Jew. And I guess I know now the feeling of Jewish persecution.
Well, at the end when he pointed at you, he like made a point of like, oh, I'm going back to my herd and then I'll say the thing. Just in case you like
maybe he figured it out. Maybe he was like walking off.
Wait a second.
And he's like, Poles, Jews, Hitler. Oh my god, you could be a Jew. Have you looked into it?
Wait, could he have meant you should have been a Jew?
No, he said you could be a Jew. So, like, I'm not aware that I could be a Jew. So when Bartek earlier was like, yeah, we could be, he's like, we're definitely not Jewish. I'm like, what? Like, I don't know. A rabbi said I could be.
Ryan, there are 3 of us and we're being attacked by someone and we need a 4th person to help us, and that 4th person has to be from Keeping Up With The Steins.
Did you know the name? It's Keeping Up With The Cardassians.
Yeah, well, it's the up with is very small. I had to make sure that I could read it on the cover.
I told you, it's small.
Yeah, I know.
I felt like I was going in pedantic information with the font, but I'm like, it really is something that you have to notice.
Yes.
So we've got 3 with this. We've got enemies.
Yeah,
3 of them.
One enemy.
Yeah. And there's 3 of us.
It takes 4 people to beat him.
Takes 4. So there, you know what this is. They're those, you know those boss levels where they take their final form and they're just like a floating head with floating hands.
Classic.
That's what this boss is, and we need
a 4th member.
A 4th member to help us from the film. Yeah.
Yeah, it needs to be a character from Keeping Up With The Steins. Who can we rely on to help us?
But Rhys, you pick. Who do you think?
Jeremy Piven.
Okay, Jeremy Piven. Okay, I wouldn't say him.
The reason I say that is the kid jumped in the pool.
Ooh,
Who was the first one to dive in?
Jeremy Piven. Jeremy Piven. That's a good point. We know that he's water resistant. So if this is a water boss, he's fine.
Does he have a sword?
No, Gary Marshall has a sword. But here's the thing. I think we're I don't know about this. I'm gonna put this in there. We didn't talk about her at all. Yeah. But Cheryl Hines' character of the planner, whose name was, I think, Noodleman or something. I would pick her because she got told at the end of the movie, nearly, or the start of the 3rd act, that the bar mitzvah that she had planned, all this amazing stuff for, was cancelled. And she managed to still host a bar mitzvah in, like, less than 8 days, which is, again, a reference to the Jewish faith because of Hanukkah. She's the candle. She managed to hold out for those 8 days leading up to the bar mitzvah, and she made a bar mitzvah happen, and she still got Neil Diamond, yes, Neil Diamond's in the movie as himself, to still be at the bar mitzvah, still lock him in, even though they weren't doing it right. So I pick her for her perseverance, and she's not, I don't know if her character's supposed to be Jewish, I don't know, Noodleman, maybe, but I would pick her because she's a strong woman, a planner, funny, and reliable. She's got the Jewish perseverance. Spirit, strength of spirit.
Alright, well, Ryan, the 4 of us have to go beat the boss now.
Okay, Cheryl, you go, Noodleman.
It's the boss music.
I thought that was her music. It's like, we go, Cheryl Hines. She gets the villain music. Little did the boss know we unlocked a boss from a previous level, and they're fighting the new boss. That's how good she is. She's a boss that we fought previously from 9 lives, and now she's come back to fight in this arena with us. We've, like, unlocked a boss. It's me, Cheryl Hines, and I'm here to kick your patootie. Get her, Cheryl, go! Douche, douche, goosh, goosh. Douche, 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 douche. No! Cheryl Hines fell! We needed someone who was water resistant! No! Is this a game over for Spit and Polish Presents Unappreciated Masterpieces and the Mystery Box and whatever future endeavors?
But wait a minute, here is Jeremy Piven to save the day.
Dun, 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 dun. It's me, Jeremy Piven. Get him, Jeremy!
Puppy power!
Haha, your water doesn't work on me, Mr. Pool Man. And here I am with my chlorine. Oh no, I am dead. You did it, Jeremy. Thanks to you, we'll survive for another episode.